Hello, everyone. NSI here. We are Bantu. Progress is in the hands of the people. A subject that's worth another comment. Is worth another comment. The subject of the sentencing of Chishimba Kambwili. Um, I watched a lot of. I decided to do another comment today. Uh, just maybe version two, if you will, just to give you a further perspective on this matter after having seen a lot of discussions from lawyers, from other commentators, from um, uh, different opinions, and from the general public, from the people of Zambia, what they are saying, what's being said on social media, what other politicians are saying about it. And I really thought something clicked in me, and something disturbing to some extent, yeah, disturbing a little bit. Because what I've gathered out of all this collection of uh, attitude, maybe we can call it, what this is comprising an attitude, a national attitude, really, um, is that Zambians, we are very confused. We are very confused. There's a lot of confusion in Zambia. I'm not sure whether we know what we want. Zambians do not know exactly what they want. If there's any subject around which consensus is unquestioned, it is, it would be the fact that corruption in Zambia has to come to an end. I believe that on that subject, there is complete consensus in Zambia. Perhaps, say for those who are benefiting from it at any one time, you know, but on that, there's no argument. It's unequivocal that corruption has to come to an end. Now, here is the problem here. Zambians, I'm not sure that we all agree on what it takes to end corruption. Because when you see some of what is being said about this issue of Chishimba Kambwili being sentenced to prison, you wonder, what do these people want? What do these people want? Right now, let's take an example of right now. Look at what's happening. Right now, the national complaint, and I'm saying this is a national complaint. With the exception of those who are in the current government, the country is complaining that there's too much corruption. And there is so much corruption. We are talking millions, if not billions of dollars that have been stolen, misappropriated, or wasted. And this comes at a great cost to our citizens. What is that cost? Death, literally, death. It comes at that cost. That's the cost of corruption, death of citizens. So, is there any room for doubt as to what needs to be done to stop corruption? What needs to be done? If what let me ask this question. Let me put it this way, right? Those people that are in government right now, you are complaining about corruption. Um, Dr. Is it a Dr. Chilufia, if I may call him that? Dr. Chilufia, the millions of dollars that have just gone somewhere. They just gone somewhere. Nobody, I follow up on him. They tried to investigate him, and there was an outcry and all that stuff, and it went nowhere. Why? He is still a sitting minister. The president did not relieve him of his position to allow an impartial inquiry. into the matter of corruption, into alleged corruption. So you are all, itching to see, somebody be held accountable for corruption. That the system is so strong around them, it's protecting them. And frankly speaking, the president is protecting him, because it only comes down to one man. So the president is protected by the president, therefore you cannot get to him. So whatever corruption has transpired there, has whatever impact is going to have on our society, on our people, it's already happening. Because of the absence of those resources that have been taken away from the Zambian people, people have died and people are dying. Those are the consequences. So if this person, do you think if someone has evidence on Dr. Chilufya, that this person should never be prosecuted, should never be followed up? If you don't, if the spirit of fighting corruption is simply a transient, is so transient, then it is no good to talk about fighting corruption. If the spirit of corruption is real, then it can never be transient. It has to be enduring. Meaning that with that person, whatever if it takes however long it takes, he must be held accountable. So are you saying Chilufya tayari, there is Bowman Lusambo? I'm sure so many of you would like to see Bowman Lusambo, justice come catch up with him. For all the foolishness that is, you all are itching to see Bowman. You all have to see Bowman Lusambo investigated to find out where he gets the millions he brags about before your very eyes. I spend 2 million kwacha on shopping. That's my spending money. That's my pocket change. And you would like to find out where he gets that money. So now, on the issue of Seva Chishimba, I'm sorry, on the issue of Chishimba Kambwili, I don't want to mix up names. That's very important. On the matter of Chishimba Kambwili, guys, was worse than Bowman Lusambo. Chishimba Kambwili was worse than Bowman Lusambo. I did a video, just my last video there. My last video where I showed a few things that Chishimba Kambwili used to do. He used to insult people. Chishimba Kambwili was high above the clouds. He was, man, he was a character. He was an exemplary thug. He was something. He insulted people along tribal lines. He insulted people, go and urinate in your tanks if you're not happy with the government's decision to hike fuel prices. That's a public servant for you. That's the real Chishimba Kambwili. He stormed ZNBC offices and cursed out staff, cursed out Kenneth Maduma and threatened them with dismissal and all manner of nonsense. That was Chishimba Kambwili for you. He divided the country, made a significant effort of it to divide the country along tribal lines when it was expedient. And on the side, he was pushing his own personal agenda to gain wealth at the expense of the country of Zambia, at the expense of the weak, the most needy in our society. You know. So, I want to show you a video, just short clips here to reinforce what I'm talking about here. This is Xavier Chishimba, president of the UPP, and this is very apt for what I'm talking about. So let me play this short video clip here, and then we continue. Okay, actually I have two video clips, but I'll play this one first. Okay, this is Xavier Chishimba, president of the UPP, United Progressive Peoples. Okay, don't confuse UPP with UPPZ. UPP is led by Xavier Chishimba. All right, okay, let's listen to this.
Here in the land of Israel, which is the source of the Bible that we talk about in Zambia, we read it very clearly in the Bible. On our wicked kings who are told you are wicked. You don't give honor to a king or a president who is wicked. When the president steals, don't say, Your Excellency, we went at Kabonana, you thief. When the president or a minister does something stupid, call it stupid. That's not the same. And I'm saying these things here. Now today we have common thieves in government. When they have stolen, when we say stealing is the stupidity, it's foolishness. Because when you steal, the people suffer. The people suffer. When the people suffer, they die. When they die, you have blood in your hands. That's these things we are talking about. And we are taking things for granted. The people of Zambia cannot afford to eat 3 meals per day. When the PF government came to power, the price of meal was around 25 kwacha to 35 kwacha thereabout. Now today, it's in excess of 200 kwacha. What kind of an increment is this we want to acquire? And one may be smiling, and always smile. Me, I'm not like one of those people. I just smile. Not take a pakulanda. That you be presidential. Be presidential. Want to validate. You be humble. Be humble. Humility is not in permanence now. I tell you humility. Chichitire finda la manachiva. Ichi muntu chichitire fina chikupuma chichitire. Inda la manachiva. No muntu ule shinka, correcting things, doing the right things, and ensuring that right things are done, people eat. Who is more righteous? That person is more humble. The one who is not touching the people's money. The stage that the country has reached is where we need a very firm leader, firm leader, to stop the nonsense in the country, to stop foolishness, to stop ubupuba, to stop stupidity, and ensure that the country gets back to work. We've been asleep for far too long. Where were we when all these things were happening? You saw some people, they were cycling bicycles before they rose to power. Suddenly, these people, they are the ones who are doing everything. When I'm saying everything, they're the ones who are building their own houses. Meanwhile, they are saying there's no money for the police. There's no money for council workers. Council workers have gone and paid for almost a year. We are coming to the end of the year. Funding has not been going to many schools, hospitals. And yet they are stealing drugs. You go and steal drugs from the medical stores. And people die and want us to smile. That no, we must be smiling. When I say this is a stupid action, here I've given you an example in the Bible. A prophet is telling a king right in the palace, Ataish, you are the man, wicked king. Here in the old land, about Zambia, a Gentile nation. We have people who pretend to understand scriptures and yet they do not understand them. The Christian Bible says, for instance, in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 to 10, it says, this is the King James Version, know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived. neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. Thieves, drunkards, they will not enter the kingdom of heaven. I haven't said these things. So when they say you are wicked, you are thieves at your Atukan, there must be humility. You don't understand the Bible at all. Africa has become an enemy to herself. The people of Zambia must rise above being their own enemies. We need to begin to call something stupid, stupid. We need to call something wise, wise. Stupid or foolish, it simply means unwise. That's the meaning of foolishness. Anything opposite wisdom is foolish. So how is that an insult? We are just stating the language, things I say, and I'm not going to apologize to anybody. And I'm standing on these holy grounds that let every corrupt ruler in Zambia be dealt with by heaven. I did say a couple of years ago that let the Almighty strengthen the hand of Lungu so that Zambians can learn. Now, if we have not learned now that recycling the same thieves that we know will not help Zambia unless you, the people of Zambia yourselves, begin to rise and say no to ever served as minister, ever. It's time to have clean people, clean beginning, new beginning. There are many professionals in the NGO sector, in the private sector, international organizations, in the diaspora. If all those new brains came together, young people, it's time for a new youth revolution, like that of our founding fathers and mothers. It was the youth who united. They were in their 20s. They had no time to be young. I challenge all of us not to be young, to say enough is enough. It's time to deliver Zambia. After speaking to you, I'm going to leave a prayer. This is the prayer here, which I'm going to leave on the holy grounds behind me. I'm going to leave this prayer there. Oh God, arise over Zambia, dethrone thieves and wicked rulers, and enthrone righteous leaders. I'll be here raising the cry. The next couple of days, I'm back. Let the God of heaven arise and deliver Zambia. The people have suffered abantu bachula, and 2020 will see more untold misery among the people of Zambia. This is not what the people bargained for.
There are words were never spoken, but that was Seva Chishimba. I thought it important that you hear some of those words because they are very pertinent to this subject, to the attitude that we all, as with a collective conscience, should really assume towards corruption. You know, the exceptionable attitude toward the delinquencies or malfeasance of those in public office. The attitude that is being, you know, displayed or portrayed by certain sectors of our society, and that which includes politicians and all that stuff. You know, it is really it is not, it does not help anything. It does not help. The spirit of fake solidarity is something that is very damaging. I'm telling you, it's very damaging. Chishimba Kambwili committed a high crime. A high crime is a crime of, you know, somebody in public office, an abuse of office, or you know, the betrayal of public trust with immediate injury to society. Those actions, whatever actions he took here, caused immediate injury to society. And they are not to be treated as a matter of transition. There is no statute of limitations. There should not be any statute of limitations on such actions. When people have died because of your actions, and they do die, when you steal, like Seven Chishimba was saying here, when you steal millions of money, deprive your fellow citizens of what they do, of healthcare, of a better quality of life, of that what would have saved their lives, they lose their loved ones. You have to be accountable for that. You have to be accountable for that. And our anger and our displeasure and our objection to such behavior cannot be transient. Otherwise, forget the whole thing. Let them steal, let them have their wealth, let them gain their wealth. If it's fine, then it's fine. As a society, we agree that it's fine. That well and good. But if we say we cannot accept such a vice in our society, then our temperaments should not flare in a transient manner. We must always remember what they did. We must always remember that they said Zambia is a country of forgetful people. Yes, it is. Because look at it. You are talking about somebody who was maybe 3 or 4 times worse than Mr. Bowman Lusambo. And you are very dissatisfied with Mr. Bowman Lusambo. At least a lot of people are dissatisfied with Mr. Bowman Lusambo. They think he does not belong in that office. Bowman Lusambo does not belong in that office. He does not know what being a public servant is. His allegiance is to the president, not to the Zambian people. You could all rot as far as he's concerned. As far as he's concerned, the president is all that matters to him. That's a person that you have in public office. That's a person we have in public office. Chishimba Kambwili was 3-4 times worse than Bowman Lusambo. And he came out, when he got kicked out of office, guys, please. And I'm saying this because it's shocking sometimes. It's shocking. That's why I opened with, I don't know if Zambians know what they want. What do we want, guys? We have to know what we want. And once you establish what you want, stick by it. This is not a game. It's a question of development. I'm talking about real development, not all these meaningless buildings, the hospitals and all that stuff, without anything inside to save your life. That's not development. That's just parading stuff so they can get a vote. And I'm talking about real development. Real development will never happen as long as corruption reigns our institutions. As long as corruption reigns in our institutions, there will never be real development. How do you explain? Singapore and Zambia were neck to neck, were at the same level at independence, 1964. Singapore, when Zambia started out, Singapore came to Zambia to adopt the same development model that Zambia assumed at independence. The same development model. And they took it back to Singapore and they implemented it. Today, Singapore is pretty much a developed country. And Zambia has retrogressed significantly from where it was at independence. It was more developed at independence than it is today. Why does happen? What happened? Where did these two countries diverge? The first thing that happened in Singapore was when they implemented this, the government took, position, so to speak, in there. A minister committed corruption. The first minister, pretty much, the first minister, committed corruption, an act of corruption. They did not waste time. They prosecuted him, they found him guilty, and he was sentenced to prison. That set an example in Singapore. No corruption. These are the consequences. They clearly established the consequences of corruption, abuse of public office, abuse of power. That's why Singapore is developed today and Zambia is not. I mind you, Zambia has a lot, heck of a lot more resources than Singapore. But here we are, spinning our feet, backsliding on copper, backsliding on our water resources. We are backsliding, others are taking it away for free, pretty much. So that's it's a little bit disappointing, seriously, to see a person like Kambwili comes out of office, right? The person that you all wish could be held accountable, he comes out of office. The moment he comes out of office, he gets kicked out of office and he loses that shield of protection from the president. Then he changes. Very quickly, he changes. He begins to point fingers at the same government that he was just in. He begins to point fingers. He begins to accuse them of corruption. He begins to warn citizens. He begins to caution citizens against the corruption, about the corruption that the government is involved in. Producing no paper, nothing, no evidence anywhere that anybody is doing any corruption, but just talking about it. I'm telling you, Zambians, quote, I'm telling you, Zambians, this is bad. I'm telling you, Zambians, you need to wake up. That's Kambwili. And guess what? People start to grow followership. He registers his own party. If you register your own party, it means you have aspirations to become president, obviously. He wants to be president. And people start following him. This is the person who was far worse than Bowman Lusambo. You start following him. Zambians start following him. Imbwili. Now, I am saying this, guys. I want to disclaim here. I'm not saying this. I don't have a shred of, malice or hatred for Mr. Kambwili. He's a fellow citizen. What I am against is corruption, and the way that we Zambians are going about it, the attitude that we got, the attitude, and I call it exceptionable. The attitude, the exceptionable attitude that we have towards corruption, and the people who commit such high crimes. We start supporting the same person who committed a high crime. We start following them. They become our potential leaders. Without any factual evidence of Mr. Kambwili having actually committed a crime. He could even become the president of Zambia. That's the people we are. That's who we are. And I'm telling you that if we want anything better for our country, we need to change from that. I'm sorry. We just there's nothing to discuss. We just need to get away. We need to change from that. We need to sympathy. These are words flying around all over the place. Sympathy, solidarity. Yes, they sound good. They sound like humane words, right? Kambwili has been sentenced. This is so unfair. He didn't receive a fair trial. Sure, sure. Maybe there, I don't know. Maybe there were some technicalities in the process of his prosecution, and I know that they requested that Mr. Simusamba, magistrate Simusamba, recuses himself. That never happened. I don't know what technicalities are there, but there is one fact stands uncontested. The case is solid and it's sound. Another judge would not have arrived at a different conclusion. So what is important here is somebody committed a high crime. There were consequences. That crime, our society bled from that high crime. And he is being held accountable. This is what needs to happen. And it should not stop here. So now, what does it mean when you have people, other political leaders? Before I mention that, let me play this little clip here from one Mr. Chilufetayali. Okay, it's just it's very short. I edited it for the purposes of this. I just did a very short clip of it. So let's listen to that before I continue. All right.
So thank you very much for those of you that have come here, and I want to say that this press briefing is like we are finishing what we started. It is in this room that I announced that I'm going to report Dr. Kambwili to the police for cases that I came across in this room. And I'm sure some of you were here when I held that press conference. And this was done, I think it was around November in 2017, I think. And I went ahead, reported the matter, and yesterday, that's when it was concluded. So this press briefing, basically, I have come to now report back to you what happened and where we are. Today, as we speak, Honorable Kambwili is in prison. And this is what I said I will do. I will report and, hopefully take Kambwili to court. It happened. Now, with what has happened, I want to first say that I am somehow disappointed with the Zambian people. I'm somehow disappointed with some Zambian people, not everyone, but some Zambian people. What is my disappointment? My disappointment is that, people are quickly rushing into saying this is political victimization, political persecution. I don't understand, my fellow Zambians. Some of these Zambians, I just don't understand. I don't understand. I just can't understand why Zambians react in this way. Why are you saying it's a political persecution? How? The case is very straightforward. It's very straightforward. It has got nothing to do with politics. If there is anything political about this, is the fact that Honorable Kambwili is one of the political leaders in this country. And for me, from where I started, I got this case when I was in Zambian Voice. And what I stand for, politics or without politics, I stand for justice. I stand for fairness. That's what I stand for. I stand for equity. That's what I stand for. And this is what motivates me. Why are we saying it's political victimization just because today Kambwili is in opposition? When it is in opposition, you say it is political victimization. What about the wrong that he has done? What about the evidence that was produced, that was adduced in court? What about it? What are you saying about it? Do you think that was cooked? I will run you down into the case, how the case went. So this is the first point, that Zambians, you will never have good governance in this country. You will never have good leaders in this country if you are going to be supporting wrong people to go into government.
Correct.
You will never have, because if you are going to say, no, because those who are in opposition should not be checked, only those that are in power. If anything, you should pay more attention to those who want to get into power. Because you want to remove those who are in government so that you can replace them with those that are outside government. But make sure that the people that you are replacing, those who are in government, are good people. Otherwise, you always have rotten leadership.
That's right.
You will never develop. We will not move. And this is my exhortation to Zambians, that please, checks and balances. You know, some of you say, no, checks and balances are supposed to be on those in government. No, even those who want to aspire. And if anything, pay more particular attention. I'm appealing to you, journalists. Pay particular attention to those that want to get into power. That is the only way you move forward. Because you are going to replace those who are there with maybe even worse people. Without any support. You have forgotten how he used to behave when he was in government. You have forgotten how he used to behave. He was untouchable. He used to bulldoze everyone. And this is why this case came to me. This case came to me, some citizens who got fed up on how Kambwili was treating them in the mines. In the mines where he got contracts, he never wanted other people to participate. If other people are given contracts in the mines, Kambwili would lash at them, would call them corrupt, and so on and so forth. And these people got fed up. By that time, he was a minister. He was a minister. When this case came to me, he was a minister. He was not in opposition. I tried to pursue the case at that time. Of course, the death of, because it was during the time of President, the late Sata. May he so rest in peace. That's when I got this case. That's when Kambwili was all over the place, grabbing, getting contracts and not allowing other people to participate. Now, is that good? Is that good? What those who are supporting Kambwili, is that good when, because he was a minister at that point and he was taking advantage of his position to get contracts, to get payments? Was that good? It wasn't good. And I'm sure at that point, even those who are the so-called opposition who are supporting him, I'm sure at that time they would have been very happy to see him convicted. But now, because he came out of government, he's in opposition and he's with them, now they are saying it's political persecution. No. I followed Kambwili because of this behavior, abusing power when he was a minister. So this is what it is. This case is about that. It's about holding a person who was in leadership and abused power. This is what this case is all about. Nothing else. He was in power and he abused his power and he has paid for it. And I'm happy for it. Because wrongdoers must be held accountable. Wrongdoers must pay for the wrong things that they do.
Yeah. Just before I forget, if you want to see Xavier Chishimba's full video that the excerpt that I took, Xavier Chishimba, you can go to his website, UPP, just Facebook page, Xavier Chishimba. If you want to see the entire, this was Chirufe Tayali's press briefing with regards to the sentencing of Chishimba Kambwili. You can go to his page and see the whole thing. That's why I grabbed this and to use for this purpose. But what the man says here is right on point. He is right on point. You might think a whole lot of other things about him, Chilufe Tayali, and I don't know much about him. I've just started to, I just got to know him right here when he started to talk about this case. So whatever else he is, I don't know. But what I know is that what he's saying here is very sound. It is something that every Zambian should take to heart. If we're going to survive as a country, every Zambian, this is the kind of message that every Zambian should take to heart. And what Seva Chishimba was saying. I've known Seva Chishimba followed Seva Chishimba for many years, and I've communicated with him for many years. And he is one solid guy, Now, Chilufe Tayali, since we are talking about the fate of Mr. Chishimba Kambwili here. When a person, commits a wrong, commits a high crime, in fact, not on a not as a matter of an instance, not in a matter of an instance. He commits a high crime over several years. He conducts himself improperly and abuses the power of his office continuously over years. There are countries out there, developed countries, where a person commits a high crime in a question of an instance of inappropriate act. They are quickly held accountable. And we are talking about judges. We are talking about ministers or elected officials, things like that, mayors and all that stuff. They are quickly held accountable. Not that they are always removed. Yeah, many times they are removed from office. But holding them accountable is, hey, you are suspended from duty. We have to investigate you. They have to investigate the person. And if there's a crime in there somewhere, you are sentenced. You're gone. So, what I was about to say before we started watching this video was, it sends a very bad message, a very mixed message. I want you to listen to me what I'm about to say here, because we all love Zambia. Zambia is our motherland. It gave us birth, and doesn't matter where you are, Zambia is our motherland. And here's what I'm going to say here. A person gets convicted of having committed a high crime. Not an instance of a high crime, but the continuous behavior of abuse of power that disadvantaged many citizens. Many citizens. Some citizens have died because of that. Take his example, then add 20 ministers doing the same thing. Each minister with his own turf. They have created a turf for themselves to use government machinery to advantage themselves. I know a number of people, but I don't have any evidence. That's where this becomes an issue. So a person gets sentenced. Then you have all the other members of the opposition crying and saying, we are in solidarity with you. We support Kambwili. We are in solidarity. Solidarity and sympathy. We need, guys, we need to change some of these things. We need to change them. Nobody likes anyone to lose their freedom. But where any other citizen would lose their freedom, anybody else should. We must be equal before the law. Breaking the law is breaking the law. Breaking the law is breaking the law. It doesn't matter who you are. As long as you are a citizen, you are supposed to abide by the law. So, what message does it send? If Kambwili gets sentenced, then the entire fraternity, essentially, of the opposition rises in solidarity. What message are they trying to send? What message does it send for every politician to rise up and say, I'm going for solidarity? Now, they're doing it for political expediency, because there are masses of people out there who already think, wow, he was targeted. This was political persecution. Like this gentleman was just saying here. This was political persecution. He was targeted. So in doing that, you remove the pertinent issue. You dilute the pertinent issue here, which means the man committed a high crime. Now it becomes about persecution. And since it is persecution and the masses over there, understanding is being spread around among the masses, this is persecution, therefore all the other opposition leaders must, reflect the same in order to be seen as empathetic, as good people. So everybody is rushing to go and visit Mr. Kambwili in prison. So the entire effort of holding anybody who commits wrong accountable is being lost. This is what happens. This is why it is very easy for corrupt leaders in Zambia to hide behind the veil of politics. It is very easy. And they get away with everything. Nobody, I don't remember anyone ever being sentenced in Zambia for malfeasance in public office. They will look into the send him is out. Send him is out. And there's been a problem here. Money keeps getting lost and all that stuff. Nobody is ever seriously investigated and prosecuted. So the trend must start now. If you agree that this is a legitimate case on Mr. Kambwili. If you have listened to all the evidence, if you haven't, watch the entire video of Mr. Tayali. Look it up on Lusaka Times. It's clear. The evidence is clear against him. He did something clearly wrong, something clearly legally punishable. The Zambian Penal Code is clearly punishable. So there is no argument that he did something wrong. Mr. Kambwili committed a crime, and for that matter, it's a high crime. Sorry about that. It's a high crime. So the message that it sends, what am I saying? Am I saying it's cruel? There are people that are calling this guy his cruel. It is a responsibility and a duty of every citizen to be vigilant when it comes to corruption. when you say we want to have zero tolerance on corruption, I want to be very careful, guys. Fellow Zambians, we need to be serious. I'm just telling you, we need to be serious. We can't preach. We want to be. We want to have zero tolerance on corruption. Blah 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 blah, and not be serious. Fighting corruption is a serious thing. Corruption, once it becomes rooted, save for the complete dismantlement of the government structures and starting anew, and creating safeguards within the new institutions that are going to resist the vice of corruption. The only alternative is to become insensitive to the plight of those that are punished because of corruption. You can't have solidarity around somebody who's been rightfully convicted of abuse of office. What is the solidarity for? Is the solidarity for, well, it's okay. I mean, he did nothing wrong. I mean, he ate some money, he forged some documents, he did that, it's okay. Is that the solidarity? Because that's what solidarity is. The shared solidarity is having a unity of purpose, having some kind of unity of purpose, having some comradeship about something. So what in this situation is the solidarity about? That, hey, everybody does it? What is it about? We throw out these words and you confuse people. It's like, what do you stand for? Do you stand for corruption or against it? If Chishimba Kambwili has been rightfully convicted of corruption and is being sent to prison for corruption, I don't see what right message solidarity sent to anyone. Are you saying that you share in what Chishimba Kambwili did? I don't know, guys. I'm just asking you because I've thought about it. Are you saying that you share in what Chishimba Kambwili did as part of that, in showing solidarity and all that stuff? If anything, every other politician should say, well, if you are in public office, you have to be careful. You are not immune. They should reiterate the point. They should be reiterating the point. Those who go in public office must be aware. Every other politician must be saying the same thing. You must be aware. We are not going to tolerate corruption here in Zambia. This is the fate of those who abuse office, public office. If you are, obviously, Mr. Lungu doesn't have a firm hand on corruption. He's not fighting corruption. He's not. In fact, he facilitates it by allowing people to remain in office. But any other the opposition political leader, must come up, must speak in support of what has happened. You are all smart. You are all smart. You know exactly that there's something wrong. He did something wrong. It is quite clear. A layman understands it. It's quite clear that he did something wrong. Therefore, if we stand to end corruption in Zambia, why are you not speaking about it and saying this is what awaits anyone who uses public funds? We lose millions and millions of dollars. Millions, if not billions, have been lost. Our copper amounts to nothing because of corruption. And you go in there to show solidarity. So I don't don't know. I don't know. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe it makes sense to a lot of people, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Not when I weigh that against the destiny of our motherland. When I weigh that against the destiny of our motherland, what it means to the destiny of Zambia, what it means for our posterity, I see a lot of nonsense in saying we are showing solidarity. When someone has been convicted for destroying the country, for acts that destroy our society, for acts that threaten the very future of our children, acts that threaten our posterity. So I do not see what point there is in all this. And this individual, Chivatali, what he has done is a very patriotic thing. And I think he needs to be applauded. Every citizen must see that. He is not talking about it. He says himself, I don't want to simply be talking about corruption. I have to fight it. This is fighting corruption. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody has the ability to do this. But what citizens have the ability to do is to collect evidence. There are many people working in the civil service offices, working under all these leaders that are pocketing a lot of money. Now, unless you are benefiting somehow yourself, then you can't collect any evidence. But if you do, why not collect it? And if you can't do something about it yourself, obviously for security reasons most of the time, give it to him. Why don't you give him a call and give it to him? He wants it. He says, give it to me. I'll never mention your name, but I promise you I'll follow it. Give it to him. Just like those guys in the mines gave him information about Mr. Kambwili. Give it to him. But my point is, it is a duty of every citizen to guard against corruption. And especially political leaders. So this guy, I am with him 100%. I'm with him 100%, guys. I don't know any other way that I could argue with what he's saying. What he's saying is exactly what needs to be happening in Zambia. It's exactly what needs to be happening in Zambia. The likes of Bomani Lusambo, the likes of Chishimba Kambwili, others that are doing wrong things in the background, that don't even have a big mouth. The very prominent thing about Mr. Lusambo and Chishimba Kambwili, man, they have a big mouth. Chishimba Kambwili, after he got kicked out of the PF, you'd think he's the biggest victim that ever existed in Zambia. The man has a big mouth. The man can run his mouth like nobody's business. When he's being himself, when he has that power. And that is the guy that was parading around and trying to get into the office of the president. You know. And you have people say, Imbwili. We are not serious. Guys, we are not serious. We are not serious. Fellow Zambians, we are not serious. This is serious. It's not a game to change a country for the better. It is not a game. These are games we are playing. These are games we are playing. You know, we are playing games. I just see we are playing games. Fighting corruption is not going to be, you know, anything less than what this guy is saying is not for fighting corruption. He is fighting corruption. The question is, how do we help him? How do we do it ourselves? What do we do with the information that we have? You know, when somebody is in power, they are not going to be easy to fight. So, collect the information, like he's saying, when they come out, go after them. Give it to him. Give it to some people. Because a new trend must be set on the Zambian landscape, political landscape. And that trend should be those that are in power committing crimes, a record will be established. When you come out, we'll come after you. They must be prosecuted for the high crimes. Those are crimes essentially, they are crimes against humanity. Zambia is a huge society. There are 18 million people in Zambia. You do that, you are committing a crime against all those people. You are committing a crime against all those people. You are not only committing a crime against these 18 million people, you are committing crimes against the unborn, against future generations. That's what you do when you commit high crimes. That's the seriousness of high crimes. Now, the issue of solidarity and all the nonsense behind it. Pardon me. You have the likes of Kambwili, you have the likes of Bowman Musambo, you have the likes of William Banda. You remember him? I don't know if you guys remember William Banda. 2007, 2008. Well, not 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, that period. William Banda was the guy who drove a chill down your spine. If you were in opposition, he was in the MMD government. There's literally blood on his hands. He was like the punisher for the MMD. He was above the law. The police feared him. He was one of the most ruthless cadres or whatever position he had in the MMD. That was William Banda. The guy was a menace. He was bad news. Bad news. He was nobody to wish you'd meet. He was nobody around whom you'd feel you have the right of free expression. It was terrible. Those are the people that needs to be in prison today. Right? Look it up. What he was doing. William Banda. Those are the people who are supposed to be in prison today. I'm serious. Where is William Banda today? Watch closely. When HH has meetings, who's sitting next to him or very close to him? William Banda is the advisor to HH. He's an advisor to HH. He's an advisor to HH. And I believe I just saw him recently coming out of his house when the students went there. I could be mistaken, but that was him. With him, when the UNZA students went there. And I could be mistaken on that, but I believe that was William Banda. But what I know for a fact is an advisor to Hakainde Hichilema. William Banda. He is. You might say, oh, what are you talking about? Look at it for yourself. Look it up for yourself. Some of these things you need to know. So when you're talking about solidarity and all this nonsense, you need to be looking at these things. This guy, what this guy is saying, Chiluvya Tayali here, is right on point. I'm telling you the truth. Is right on point. You can't say we abhor corruption, and yet you embrace those that have committed those crimes. This is the nonsense of this solidarity among political leaders. And when this guy says, I'm not only watching those in government, I am also watching those who are outside. Pay close attention to those who are trying to get in. That's what it means. That's what it means. Do I have any evidence that HH had any wrongdoing during privatization? No, I don't. And this has never been investigated fully. But I know that there are people around him that have committed crimes against our society. Stumbeko Mustokotwan. He's the financial advisor to HH. You remember the windfall tax that President Mwanawasa, implemented the windfall tax? Collected millions. They collected millions and they put it in the treasury. Mwanawasa died. Rupia Banda came to power. That money has never been accounted for. And at that point, Stumbeko Msokotwane was in charge. He was first in the treasury, then he became the finance minister. It has never been accounted for, and Stumbeko Msokotwane never explained how the money went. Where's the money? And now, the person who was in charge when that wrong, that is the wrong to society. That is an injury. I want you to understand, that is an injury to society. Money that's just public. This is public money. The wealth of every Zambian. It just disappears. Millions upon millions. They just disappear. This is money that belongs to every one of Zambians. Each and every Zambian is the owner of this money. It just disappears. And no one is held accountable. And the people that were in charge, that know what happened to that money, they have never been touched. And now they're in waiting to get more positions in the government. And we say we are serious about fighting corruption. We will have zero tolerance against corruption and all that nonsense. A corrupt leader is sent to prison. Oh, we need to show solidarity. It's a political witch hunt. It's this and this. It's all sorts of nonsense. Sorry about that. I need to shut that off. So guys, I just wanted to give you a perspective, so to speak, another one about our country. I know we all love Zambia, but we really have to be very serious about our country. Playing politics all the time is not a good thing. Playing politics, there has to be seriousness somewhere. People have to be held accountable for what they do in public offices. Everybody in public office has to be held accountable for what they do in there. It's going to take a lot to change the mindset of the Zambians, because there's a lot that contributes to that. I've spoken about it. One that being that Zambians, we send people in government to get rich. And we ask so much of them before we send them there. We ask them to pay for sending them there. We like free stuff. That's what we like. So the only unfair thing that you could say about Kambwili is that we sent him there to get rich. Because he did something, well, maybe before he was elected MP, he did so and so and so and so and so for us, so we sent him there as a reward. Maybe that's the reason you might be, you might be, disturbed about this whole thing and annoyed about it or something like that. Maybe that's the reason, because that's also true. But if you want to see zero corruption, guys, with these attitudes that are flying around, it's not going to happen. It will only happen with this attitude that you just saw in this guy. This attitude is a real fight against corruption. There are two politicians that we need to be listening to very carefully in Zambia. One of them, sure, I don't know this guy very well, but if this is who really is, then we need to be listening to this guy. The other person we need to be listening to is Xavier Chishimba. You learn a lot of things. Let's not listen to silly slogans. Stupid slogans. Let's never be excited for once in a moment and get just. Sometimes there comes a point in our in the passage of our politics that we just become like brainwashed. We stop to think and look at things the way they are. We just start flowing with the wind. It's almost to put it in Xavier Chishimba's words, it's almost like, we become our own enemies. That's exactly what it is. And we must rise above being our own enemies. It's the truth. It's the truth. So, but anyway, so Chishimba Kambwili going to prison, there may not be anything good about him going to prison. Now, there is that it sets an example for those that would aspire to do wrong, to abuse power of office. Obviously, that's a good thing. It does. Now, what I meant to say was, you don't simply celebrate, somebody's fate, because it's just not a human thing to do, a humane thing to do. And but is it fair? Yes, it is fair. Should he answer for what he did? Yes, he should. Should anybody else who does the same thing answer for what they do? Yes, they should. We should line them up. They should be lined up. Get out of those offices. They get lined up to answer for what they did in those offices. That's what it should be. Every citizen needs to assume the attitude of Chirufetayali in this video that you just saw. That's a patriotic thing to do. That's patriotism. Seriously, that is patriotism. It is patriotism. If you know what patriotism looks like, that's what it looks like. That is patriotism. Protecting your country from damage. Protecting your country against those who would intend harm. Whether they are other citizens or outside entities, enemies. You must protect. You must protect your country. You must act to protect your country. That's patriotism. All right. Guys, if you have any comments, leave them here on my on this YouTube channel, or you can leave me a comment on my Facebook page if you would like to have some further discussion on this. I'll be happy. I'll be happy to engage you. But it's NSI progress is in the hands of the people. It clearly is, and so until that was my comment for tonight. Until next time, guys, take care.